Here's the reading assignment for the next class period. It's chapters 1 and chapter 12. Not many pages, but hang on because we're going to be talking a lot about adjectives and adverbs. Why? Well, remember we're talking about form classes, the four parts of speech that can change their endings, can be inflected. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, which modify nouns, and adverbs, which generally modify verbs. We can inflect adjectives and adverbs in two different ways. We have the comparative suffix, you add er, and then we have the superlative where you add est. So happy, an adjective, but you can be happier or you can be happiest. Fast is an adverb. We can inflect it for the comparative, faster, or the superlative, fastest. This is one way to figure out, do you have an adjective or an adverb instead of a noun or a verb? Basketball is a noun. You generally cannot say basketballer and basketballest. When do you use the or est endings versus more or most? This is incredibly tricky. Again, it's often simply a matter of common usage. Generally, if a word has two or more syllables, use more or most to form its inflections. So I would not say fortunater, fortunatest. I would say more fortunate, most fortunate. Slowly. I don't say someone is moving slowlier or slowliest. They're moving more slowly, and then you've got the one who's moving the most slowly. Sneaky adverbs. They do not end in ly. You cannot make them comparative or superlative. Take a look at this list and try and figure out, are there any common threads? What's the theme of what's going on here? We've got a whole set that are really about time, when something happens. Something can't happen more yesterday. It cannot happen yesterday-er. It simply happened yesterday. And then we have a set that has to do with position in space. We may want something to be there-er or more there, but generally it's just there or it's not. Again, as with our irregular verbs, what do you do with these sneaky adverbs? Do you give students a list and tell them don't or est or more or most them? Here's a test for adjectives and adverbs. If you can add this qualifier, very, in front of the word, it's either an adjective or an adverb. It won't tell you the difference between. It'll just say, hey, you don't have a noun or a verb here. Something can be very hot, adjective, or you can be moving very slowly, adverb. Something can be very difficult. Someone can be very smart. And there's one of our sneaky adverbs, very soon. You might want to proceed very carefully. Go ahead and try and put very in front of a noun or a verb. If it works, you probably really have an adjective or an adverb. One of the things I'd like to discuss, if you guys don't want to, we won't. Why does this matter? Why do we need to know if we have an adjective or an adverb? Since the very test simply tells us that we have an add something, adjective or a verb, how can we distinguish between them? We can usually make adjectives into adverbs by adding ly to the end. A person or a line at the DMV might be slow. That's an adjective. I am describing a noun. But if I add ly, then I get the adverb slowly. Adjective becomes adverb. Why does this matter? This can be useful to show students that they have more words in their arsenal than perhaps they think. But let's go ahead and test this ly conversion. All 6 of the words you see here are adjectives. If we add ly to the end, you might need to sneak an ily for it to be grammatical. Do you create an adverb? I'm not sure if thoroughly is a word. I suppose it could be. Sparklingly sounds dreadful, but it's a word. Tally. Uh-oh. You really can't do something tally. You also can't do it freely. Sorry. Bluely. What do you think? This might be something I start with next class. Bluely. Is it an adverb? Scarily. That is an adverb. It might be one that we don't use very often, but it is an adverb. So this conversion works sometimes, not all the time. Another great way to distinguish between adjectives and adverbs is by thinking about sentence position. Adjectives go between your determiner and your head word in a noun phrase. The nice boy. Adverbs are part of the verb phrase, and here is the key thing. They can move around. An adjective is kind of stuck. An adverb can go at the beginning of the sentence, in the middle of the sentence, at the end of the sentence. It's still modifying the verb, but it's movable. So here's an example of adverb movability. I wasn't kidding when I said you could put it at the beginning, middle, or end of the sentence. I've given you a 3-word sentence here. I can put that adverb anywhere. And then I need to start thinking about the rhetorical context. What sounds better? Jana frequently whines. Frequently Jana whines. Jana whines frequently. It might depend on where I want to put the emphasis. Do I want to put the emphasis on the fact that she's whining or that she's doing it so much? Adjectives do not move. Jana has a hot temper. I cannot say hot Jana has a temper. I can, but my sentence suddenly has a very different meaning. And I can't say Jana has a temper hot. This might be how I would construct a sentence in Spanish or another Romance language. You always put your adjectives after your nouns, but that's not how we do it in English. Our adjectives are stuck between our determiner and the noun head word in this noun phrase. So this is a great way to figure out if the word you're dealing with is an adjective or an adverb, if you care. A final test for adjectives, the test frame. Our first test is adding ly. If you can add ly to create an adverb, you've got an adjective. Test 2, it doesn't move in a sentence without causing some very interesting scenarios. Test number 3, the test frame. Put any noun you want, and then put the same word in this modifier position, and then also at the end of the sentence. The blank noun is very blank. Let me explain. An adjective will fit in both spots. The clever student is very clever. The happy monkey is very happy. Some adjectives will fail this test. The medical doctor is very medical. You can say, well, that passes the test, but it doesn't sound as right or as okay as the previous two. Because the English language is such a mutt of different speeches, Germanic, Norse, French, Latin, Italian, Native American, it's hard to come up with one easy test that will tell you 100% of the time which part of speech, which form class a word is. I want to conclude this lecture, presentation, whatever it is, with a couple of words about affixes. Now, both a prefix and a suffix are affixes, stuff that you attach to a word. Prefixes come at the beginning, suffixes come at the end. The reason is because affixes provide diversity. Affixes are a way to transform a noun into a verb, an adjective, an adverb. Some common prefixes, here's a list. Here's some suffixes that you can think about. Because again, a lot of what we're trying to do, whether we're teaching English or trying to improve ourselves as writers, is to come up with more ways, or the best way, to get our ideas across. There really is a difference rhetorically between saying, she makes the house more beautiful, and she beautifies the house. That was a beautiful song. He performed it beautifully. And here's something that I want you to bring to class. You can write this down on your arm, you can write it down in your notebook, you can take a screenshot of it with your phone and then add your own notes, whatever you want to do. I want you, based on the one word that you see in this list, to come up with what's the noun form, the adjective, and the adverb. I've picked 4 even numbers from this exercise, so you will not be able to find the answers in the back of the book. I want you to do this, give it your best shot. Then we're going to compare answers and talk about, is this exercise useful? Would you ask a student to do it? What, if anything, did you learn by doing this chart? Prepositional phrases are another way you can get noun phrases into your sentences. So what's a preposition? It's a preposition with a noun phrase. So it goes even before the determiner. So you have preposition, determiner, modifier, noun. Prepositions usually indicate when or where something is happening. And here are some popular examples of, at, on, by, after. Prepositions allow you to add a level of richness and detail to your writing. Here's a working definition for a prepositional phrase. It's a preposition plus a noun phrase. At the student center, of education majors, along the main road. So all of these start with a preposition before our noun phrase, at, of, along, and then we have noun phrases, to with determiners, all with modifiers, and then center, majors, road are nouns. Prepositional phrases are beautiful things because you can use them as adjectives. They can modify a noun, tell you where or when a thing is, but they can also modify verbs, telling you where or when something happened. Here's an adjectival prepositional phrase, a dinner. Where? A dinner at the student center. The group. What group? The group of education majors. To drive. Where are you driving? Along the main road. Prepositional phrases allow us to modify our nouns and verbs to give a more vivid picture of what's going on. So here's some practice. Are these prepositional phrases acting as adjectives or adverbs? And you'll see the prepositional phrases in bold, some at the beginning, some at the end, some in the middle. So how can you determine this? Well, remember, one of the tests for adjective versus adverb is movability. Can you move this prepositional phrase around the sentence? If you can move it, is it an adjective or an adverb? You need your answers for quiz 2. So keep track. You'll see them again in the quiz. It'll simply ask you, are these adjectives or adverbs? We'll talk about why, and then we'll talk about, does this even matter? Do we need to care about this? If so, why? There'll be another question on quiz 2. Check eCourses for the URL. As always, please complete it at least 30 minutes before the beginning of class.